Terminalecho. Have you ever followed a public webcam link from an anonymous rumor and then realized the feed changed right around you? Not later, not minutes, right after the click. Because the first time I did it, I wasn't thinking crime. I was thinking confirmation. I wanted one clean answer. Was the rumor real or just another creepypasta breadcrumb trail meant to keep people watching? I still remember the timestamp, an image file name that looked harmless, a grid of camera tiles, each one a tiny window with a caption, some redacted, some vague. And then for a split second, the proof felt too convenient. Then the page went blank. The source should have been there. The cursor should have had something to verify. Instead, there was only that empty silence, like a room after you close the door. That's when my research rule got sharper. No hoodie, no myths. Mystery first, but verification first too. I set 3 rules for myself. First, I never trust a live page I haven't archived. Second, I never accept a single timestamp. Consistency has to survive multiple captures. Third, I treat links like evidence, not invitations. Every hop gets a snapshot, ideally with an archive capture, and I compute a checksum of what I'm actually viewing, so the same feed really means the same feed. If the rumor can be verified, it should look identical across time windows, at least at the level of frames, cadence, and compression. Now, here's the part that stuck with me. The rumor wasn't generic. It wasn't dark web tunnels, spooky cameras. It had a pattern. The anonymous post named a camera tile family, a repeating behavior. One tile in particular, tile position fixed like a chess square, would briefly flicker from normal exposure to overexposed wash, then return to baseline. And across different boards, that same tile behavior showed up on a consistent posting window, the same hour range, same day of week, even when the board names changed. The rumor claimed it was publicly mirrored. The wording mattered, mirrored, like it wasn't one origin, it was redistribution. So I started the first hop the careful way. I took the metadata from the rumor screenshot, country region guesses, a vague ISP hint, the camera model family implied by the UI overlay, even the way the grid was arranged. Then, I matched it to public-facing webcam listings that shared those traits. Not similar, matched. I captured immediately. I saved an archive capture, then grabbed the raw frame stream where possible, or at minimum, the most consistent preview image. I timestamped everything the same way. Local time, then UTC conversion. If the rumor was real, the feed should still match the earlier screenshot structure when I brought it back up. But the moment I went deeper, I felt that unsettling shift, like my own verification was being noticed back. The fresh angle wasn't a jump scare. Technical betrayal. I clicked the next link. The grid loaded. The tile that matched the rumor was there. Same location in the grid, same lighting profile. I even paused long enough to compare the flicker cycle against the earlier archive frames. Then the behavior changed. Not it updated. Not it buffered. The feed altered after my interaction. The overexposure flare shifted, its duration shortened by a few frames. The transition went from slow bloom to a harsher cut, and the timestamp overlay, which had always been fixed in the earlier screenshot, refreshed to a different minute count while the rest of the grid stayed consistent. On screen, I had my evidence cards. Before, archive capture. After, live capture. Same grid template, different flicker cadence. That's when the dread turned from abstract to personal. Because that isn't just verification, that's responsiveness. I redacted what needed to be redacted, both out of ethics and because privacy matters even when you're investigating. Usernames were smeared. Any location hints that could identify a real person got cropped out. IP and region fragments were replaced with placeholders, but the archive folder names stayed intact so continuity wasn't lost. I kept the proof chain clean. Original screenshot hash, archive capture identifier, my live capture hash, and the exact time I clicked the link. Then I watched the trail widen. The same camera tile, same fixed position, same grid border style, same overlay artifacts started appearing embedded in unrelated posts. Different titles, different talking points. Some were urban exploration, some were prank compilations, some were plain video re-uploads. If it had been a single source that everyone happened to reference, the distribution would have been messy or inconsistent. Instead, it looked like the tile was being syndicated, like the feed was repackaged while keeping its identifying quirks. That's not mystery, that's logistics. So I investigated the mismatch. The rumor claimed coordinates and a specific timestamp alignment. In the screenshot, the time overlay suggested one local time. But when I compared the compression artifacts and frame cadence, how motion smears across frames, how often the same static elements repeated, the math didn't line up. The rumor's coordinates were just close enough to sound right. The video compression told a different story. The frame rate cadence implied a different capture pipeline, and the flicker cycle didn't match the earlier archive window until I accounted for the feed's refresh behavior. In other words, the rumor wasn't only wrong, it was constructed to survive casual checking, while detailed comparison exposed a different timeline. And then the escalation happened. A new link appeared after my verification timing. Not magic, not supernatural. Evidence can be adaptive without anyone calling it that. The breadcrumb loop changed. A fresh mirror entry, same grid template, but it routed to a slightly altered presentation. The tile that had been stable started delaying its overlay for a brief moment after load. Exactly the sort of thing you'd do if you knew watchers were inspecting. I wasn't just following a rumor anymore. I was stepping into a feedback loop built on attention. So what did I learn? It wasn't that the dark web is inherently powerful. It's that public streams can be used like stage lights. Public webcams are designed to be seen. That means they're also designed to be interacted with. By bots, by scrapers, by opportunists who know that people can't resist confirmation. In my case, verifying the rumor felt like being noticed back. The emotional dread wasn't about hacking. It was about agency. About realizing a system doesn't need to be invisible to be threatening. It just needs to be responsive. If the feed can react to you, what else can? Because the real risk isn't chasing past claims. Don't go hunting old videos just because they promise answers. Chase safeguards instead. Archive first. Check what you view. Compare cadence and compression. Capture before, after. And never assume that a stable screen means a stable source. If you want, I can walk through the exact verification checklist I used. How to build the proof chain without feeding the loop. But for now, tell me this. Have you ever followed a public webcam link from a rumor and watched the feed change when you arrived? If so, what changed first?